All right. Welcome back, my regular viewers, listeners, and watchers. And of course, if you happen to be here for the very first time, welcome. Before I go any further, my name is Rahul George, India's premier iHypnosis life healer coach and your personal guide. And of course, for those of you who are regular viewers, listeners, and watchers of this specific curated pod, the iHypnosis Life coaching journeys, these are, of course, pods that have been curated. I have, made it my mission to find people who are out there, who are healers, who are coaches, and people who are already on the journey. People who have been able to recognize that their story, their struggle, and their unique gifts are available for the world. So we are, of course, now well into season two, and I have a very, very special guest. In a few moments, you'll understand why I have this smile on my face. As you know, they talk about the magic of the internet. This is, of course, your cue. I have met Preeti technically for the second time today, meaning the first time was, I think, last week when we met very briefly, and of course now we are catching up here. So this is my privilege to be able to get to have this time, your time that you have shared here, to be on the pod and to really understand and to get to know your journey. So to start with, of course, Preeti, welcome. Thank you for making the time to be here on our pod.
I am most, I feel a lot of gratitude to be here. To be with like minded people is always a pleasure. So, thank you for having me.
Amazing. So, like I said, the people who are meant to be on this pod just show up, and it's truly the magic of the internet. It's the magic of this time for those of us who not only survived a very life-changing moment, or almost about 5 years ago now.
Yeah,
I'm talking about COVID, obviously. There's been a shift, and I'm sure you see it more and more each day, in, as they call it, global consciousness or inner consciousness. And it's folks like us who are even more blessed, because not only have we started with focusing on our personal healing and our personal journeys, but we are also in a position where we have these unique skills that we are able to use, like brahmastra, like magic wands, to be able to help other people. And obviously, for those of you who have also seen the write up, you have an idea of where I'm kind of or what I'm hinting at, but we won't get to that yet. Maybe just for starters, if you could tell people, those of you, people who are watching who already know you, or maybe they're meeting you for the very first time. If someone said, "So, Preeti, what do you do?" You can go ahead and we'll start right there, and then we'll go deeper into the pod.
So, what do I do? I love bringing smile to the world. I love people who smile or
Mm,
who are kind of happy from within. And uh, life takes its course. So, my objective, my mission, what I do is bring those smiles back,
mm,
bring that inner power through which the smile comes. And I do that with the power of a very simple tool, that
mm,
is pen, handwriting. So working on subconscious mind, so that we step by step we are able to release ourselves from our limiting beliefs
beautiful.
and get into that space of inner happiness, and of course the outer world then reflects back.
Amazing, amazing. So there's a lot to unpack. As they say nowadays, there's a lot to double click on, and we'll get to that in a few moments. But I think it's really powerful, and that's why I was inspired about a year and a half ago to to really lean into creating these podcast episodes. Um, it's like there is a story behind how you got here, and a lot of times people forget. One, people forget how they got here, but more importantly, people on the outside only see what they see currently. So when they look at you, let's say they come across you on Instagram, or maybe they come across you in a conference somewhere, right, in a seminar somewhere. um, a lot of times people will not know how you got here, and what were those pivotal moments that you showed up for, which eventually brought you here to be the person that you are. So if you were to sort of go back in time, right? I'm sure you're familiar with the concept of the hero's journey. People, especially, as I said, our people are healers and coaches, or as I fondly call them, healer coaches. And of course, people who are on the healing journey. By now you're probably familiar with the concept of the hero's journey. So basically, it's like saying, some point, I'm sure, Preeti, in your life, maybe a few years ago, maybe many years ago, you sort of had that call, to go on a journey, to call to go on a adventure, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you got here finally. But we're going back in time, so it's sort of rewinding time to for us to travel along with you, and walk us through, like, take us through that journey, like how did you get here?
Uh, so I'll just pick on some those
Sure.
moments
Mm.
which is right now, you know, like as you frame questions, certain moments,
Hmm.
distractions. So I've had a very happy childhood.
Mm.
So we had a lot of fun. And when you say adventure, oh my God, I will not even go into that word right now. And we were free to do what we wanted to.
Right. Nice.
So I later on came to know that my father wanted me to do commerce, but I was fascinated by how our body functions.
Mm.
So I went into microbiology. That's what I studied.
Wow.
So when I came to know that my father wanted me to do commerce, I was a little shaken.
Mm.
And that moment made me realize that he gave me the freedom to do what I want. And
Mm.
during those days, the concept of parents having a control on what children do and
Right.
being a girl child. So I'm talking about the 1980s.
Yeah.
So क्या पढ़ने की जरूरत है लड़कियों
Mm.
को, all from the all that. So I felt such a sense of freedom that I
Right.
was allowed to do, and I was so, वो बोलते हैं ना, तृप्ति हो जाती है when I started
Right.
microbiology. Like I knew that
Nice.
if I'm hurt, what in the world goes on in the body,
Mm. Wow.
and that you know, we are all God believers, but when I
Mm.
came to know a single cut, what it can do to the body or
Right.
what the body does, made me believe in Him all the more, much more, in that
Mm.
energy of
Mm.
how magically the human body works.
Mm.
Life took its own turn.
Mm.
Me and my best friend, we started an advertising agency. We co-founded an advertising
Wow.
agency,
Okay.
and I'm talking about 1998.
Nice.
So again, my father was thrilled because we are Gujaratis.
Right.
For some reason, because his parents died when he was 5 years,
Mm.
he could not do business.
Mm.
So when
Yeah.
he saw his elder daughter doing business, वो
Nice.
बोला ना छाती ऐसे, like okay. So that was it, like very satisfying. Of course,
Nice.
we started business with a certain objective. We
Mm.
did that. We served some of the best clients in
Mm.
country across segments. Our
Mm.
work for the clients was awarded, and I can't tell you enough of how that work meant a
Mm.
lot. It gave us, above all, the financial freedom
Mm.
to be able to do things, to be able to choose to do certain things, which
Right.
otherwise probably you may not be able to if you're dependent on someone else's.
Correct.
So that gave us, me and my friend, the freedom to participate in car rallies,
Right.
and go to places like Goa or Chandigarh or
Nice.
a lot of stuff. So it gave us basically a lot of freedom. But
Mm.
during that journey, what I did not pay attention to was my emotional and mental
Yeah.
health,
Yeah.
which it was like, chodna yaar,
Ah.
life is so good. What are you worried about this? It's okay. So it was always like, it's okay.
Right.
And then some things happened. Uh, my daughter came a little late in my life,
Mm.
and some events happened. And one fine day, I remember sitting on sofa distinctly, and I'm thinking that what am I doing?
Mm.
Why are I'm not crying? I'm not crying at all, but the
Mm.
tears are not stopping.
Mm.
And I'm like, I have a good husband. I have my lovely daughter. I have a
Mm.
house that I call my own. I have a friend who cares for me. My family loves me.
Right.
Why am I unhappy?
Wow.
And I couldn't answer that question. I had no clue.
Mm,
That is the moment where I said enough of कि तू चुप बैठ जा. Now I have to
mm,
face the demons that I'm not ready to, some
right.
questions that I'm not ready to. So very
Mm,
distinctly, that's the moment the journey started. But
right.
the foundation was laid many years
Mm,
back, which was a mix of the belief that my parents gave to me, the
mm,
challenges that I was ready to face, because two women going on a car rally when
yeah.
women were not even encouraged to
Mm,
drive. It was like, ladkiyan kya car chalaegi?
correct.
And in fact, I remember in the first car rally, the maximum car speed we were given was
Mm,
50.
wow.
And I'm like, how can you drive at 50? We are on the highway. But
Right.
that was the first car rally only. Later on, they
Mm,
had
was.
normal speed limits.
Mm,
So it's a combination of those and this moment on my sofa, which
nice.
turned my journey. And
Mm,
then there was a lot of support. And I really, when you say, Rahul, thanks to internet, thanks to
mm,
COVID, I think those times normalized
yes.
getting knowledge.
Yeah.
One is online,
Yes.
secondly, from people who are not doctors, who
Mm,
have not
true.
gone to big universities.
True.
So this thing got normalized. You
Yeah.
could learn from anyone who has
Mm,
expertise in one field,
mm,
and you could learn it online.
nice.
So this two combination really made
Amazing.
that journey,
Mm,
kind of far more, I would say, quicker,
mm,
deeper,
mm,
and because again online, so the space at which you make mistakes and you learn, all
mm,
that was something that really worked in favor. So
nice.
I would say that's few moments that I remember.
Amazing. I have to say two things right away. I know this is, as I said, it's a podcast in in service of people who will hear this, maybe today, maybe a year from now. And like we were talking about just before we went online, with the powers of AI as they be over years and years to come, at the right moment, what we are saying and what you're sharing and just the interaction will probably be that that extra special magic ingredient in someone's something that they're studying or they're querying. Like we have gone out, you have gone out, searching for people who are specialists and who are the human beings who are doing that. 5 to 10 years later, it'll be the machines that are taking our knowledge, including what's happening here, as that extra special magic dust, that pixie dust, for someone who is looking, right? For someone who's having that sofa moment, maybe I'm literally getting goosebumps right now. For someone who's having that experience, maybe 2 years later, maybe 5 years later, who knows, right? But I had to pause. Just this is more like a personal, like a personal aside, like a pit stop temporarily,
Yes.
because I knew, it's like, and you'll know what I mean by this. When we spoke the last time, I knew we were kindred spirits because two things. And there's a reason why I even told you on that call. I'm not going to ask you too much about you, because what I love about these pods is it gets to be like it's my, my in the moment reaction and response to what you're sharing.
Yes.
It turns out that we have also shared a past in the past, which is my first job was in advertising
Okay.
around the same time, right? So I did my MBA in marketing, and then 99 I got into advertising. I did about like 3 months in Bangalore, and then about 3 years in Bombay. So and of course that's an offline conversation, but I'm just saying I had to pause here and mark it for
Yes. Yes.
for whoever's listening, because I think this is the whole point, that there is no fixed path to how you're going to get here, or how you're going to get there, right? So whoever's listening, the reason why they're probably tuning in and still listening is because they're missing something, right? They're asking these questions into the deep, the grand void, like, what am I missing? Why am I like this? It's like the main aisa kyun hu kind of a thing, right? So we'll come back now to that moment, because I suspect there was something that kind of tipped it. when you were sitting there in your, on your sofa, and you were just sort of overcome with that emotion. Because a lot of times, and especially nowadays compared to say 5-10 years ago, it's very easy to fast forward that moment that people have, because there's so much of, and we, I'm not saying we are guilty of it, but there's so much of media that is being, bombarded at people today compared to say 10 years ago or 15 years ago, that when people have that moment today, it's easy to sidestep it.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why we're doing this pod, because I'd love for you to, slow that time down to what was it that kind of created that almost like the tipping point.
Um, so 2 years probably before this thing happened,
Mm,
we were at a good space in advertising.
correct.
Yeah, it suffice to say we were at a good space,
Mm,
and I shared with my partner that something is. It's as
mm,
if this is not enough.
yeah.
Uh, it's great working with brands. It's great creating uh,
Mm,
campaigns,
mm,
creating mission vision.
mm.
In fact, actually, yeah, actually, we were sitting, we were creating mission vision and value statements for one of
Right,
our client. They're
right.
a 1,000 crore company,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and when we were doing that, it was so exciting,
Right,
thrilling, and fulfilling all
right,
at the same time.
right.
Because here are the stakeholders of the company coming together, and each one uh, um, debating,
Yes.
should we have ethics as our core value?
Mm,
And what I love about the company was they were
mm, mm.
open enough to talk about these are certain things we do in
Right,
business, which is
right.
not necessarily ethical but required in the business environment.
Yep.
So we debated on each and every
Mm,
value points of that company,
nice.
and that felt like, that this is what is the real crux of life,
Yeah.
of how we go within
Mm,
and understand what is important for me and then come out. So that particular workshop was a kind of a, I would say, वो एक चिंगारी लग गई कि
mm.
advertising campaign सब ठीक है, but this is
Yeah.
this is the base of the brand, this is from
Right.
where it comes out.
Mm,
And at some point in time I felt मैं brand के साथ काम करके क्या करूं.
right.
As in, okay, the company does business, all
Mm,
well and good, but there's so much happening in everyone's life.
yeah.
And when I'm not really touching their life in a more holistic way,
Mm,
I was always the person who everyone would come and confide in.
mm,
So that way I was, but it's not a full help. It's like you
mm,
give them a year, a safe
mm.
space to be in, and then it's like
Beautiful.
telling कि अब आप अपना फोड़ लो. I heard you,
Yeah.
but अब आप अपना फोड़ लो. So I'm like, it just, I feel that instead of working on brands, I would like to work with people. And me and my
Mm,
friend had conversation on that. And yes, one important thing that she said is, Preeti, this is our competency. This is what we've grown with.
right.
And we should build on this.
Mm,
And something in me said, I want to build it on people. So
mm.
that was probably a thing that sparked something inside me.
Nice.
And then there were certain life events that happened.
Mm,
So I probably it started from there and ended up to that. Okay, I have probably been a shoulder to cry on for others.
mm.
Today, I need a shoulder to cry on,
Wow.
and I don't even know the reason I'm crying, but I want someone to just hold that space and say it's okay not to know.
Amazing.
Because as logical people, we
Mm,
want to know the reason.
mm,
Like, Q, why?
mm, mm.
I have a lot of people saying, why will handwriting show
Right.
my subconscious mind?
True.
Fortunately, we have research, but for many things,
Mm,
we don't have research.
mm.
So that why was always, so
Amazing.
without asking the why, just
Sure.
holding that space.
Wow.
Um, I forgot what I started with, but
Mhm.
uh,
No, that's beautiful. I love that. In my mind, I was waiting for this sort of lull, temporary lull, because even from a journey perspective. I'm guessing that was somewhere around 2015, 2016.
No, 2012.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Actually,
beautiful.
no,
Okay.
no, actually, you're right. 13, 14 types.
Mm.
Yes, yes, correct.
And then, as you fast forward to about 2 years after that, was where you were on, let's say, either it was 2 years later, you were on the sofa, and then 2 years later was somewhere around COVID. Would that be sort of like the
Kind,
timelining,
oh
right?
my God, even without knowing, you know it. Wow.
See, that's why we are so blessed to do what we do,
Yes,
right?
I agree. I agree.
So, and as I said, it's so fascinating, and it is also very it is a taboo or a touchy subject for some. And again, it depends on how much people lost, especially in that next 2 year period of 20 to
Yes.
22. um, but there are a lot of these life instances and incidents that happen as a lead up, as a preparation, as a wake up call, which most of us disregarded until 2020 happened,
Hmm.
right? So like I had one of those in 2018. So my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, and that was sort of like oh, okay, I need to re like re-look at the structure of how I'm planning the next 50 years of my life,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Because I had lived a certain, what one might call, like the fairy tale life of like you follow your dream and all of that. So that's like a another podcast for another day. But I see a lot of parallels in lives of especially the people who come in, because a lot of these moments were preparing you
Hmm.
for 2020,
Yeah.
right? And that 2020 to 22 was where the right teachers or the mentors, so they answered the clarion call. So they rose up to the occasion, and people like us had them to learn the things that we were looking for to sort of become part of who we are today.
True.
Even if that sounds a little convoluted, basically it's like saying what you're doing today was getting ready for you in that 2020 to 2022 period,
Period.
and
Yes.
then you became the student of that, and today you're at that point where you're at the point of mastery. So when you are teaching other people, when you are coaching other people, it's because of that 2015 to 2020 preparation phase,
Yes.
and now obviously 2020 to 25 where you've been more the student, and then shifting gears into more of the mentor, the, as you said, someone who can, instead of getting into the why, someone who can actually hold that space,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
it's beautiful to hear the parallel that you had experienced. So I guess one question maybe we can, where we can go to also help people who may be feeling lost. Maybe now is a good time, and at some point I'm sure we'll go back even further in time. But for the moment, um, maybe if you could share a little bit about what was that pivotal moment when you realized the handwriting element was, for lack of a better word to say, like your Brahmastra. Like when did you like? What sort of made you go, oh, okay, okay, I get it.
Uh, yeah. Uh, so one interesting thing before that, like
Mm-hmm.
when there was that, that Kolahal period where
Yeah, yeah.
just nothing just sits in
Yes,
place.
yes, yes.
I believe in occult sciences.
Mm,
So I went to a friend of mine. She's a tarot card reader. So I
mm,
said, "यार मुझे कुछ तो बता. Like मैं क्या करूँ क्या? What
correct.
is something that I can do along with my advertising thing?"
Mm, mm.
So she saw and she said, "Preeti, yours is coming scribing."
Oh.
So I said, "Scribing? I'm not an
Mm,
author.
mm,
I That's not in me. I mean, my partner in advertising, she has written books, and she is a very very lovely
mm.
dynamic woman. So she has written books. I'm saying, I am not the author material. So scribing is not for me.
Right.
And this I'm telling while I'm already a graphologist.
Interesting.
So I
Okay.
handwriting always
Huh.
uh, fascinated me. My
Mm,
father's name is Bhogilal
mm,
B, and he
mm.
writes B in a very
Oh.
unique way.
Mm.
I would look at his B and I would say there has to be some meaning
Some meaning.
to
Right.
the way he's writing the letter B. Why is his letter B like this? And
Mm.
mine is so different and everybody else is so different. And then, I'm a kind of a dreamer. I said, Preeti, तू तो चुप ही बैठ. देखो तो कहीं पे भी कुछ भी questions, you kind of just
Right.
open up Pandora
Right.
box and sit with it. So I
Mm.
just put it aside. Somewhere
Mm.
in 2003 or 4, I came to know there is
Wow.
graphology.
Grapho. Yes.
And I was thrilled.
Mm.
Finally, because the advertising time schedules you are well aware of, there is no
Right.
day, there's
Right.
no night. The actual day starts at 4 o'clock in the
Right.
evening.
Right.
So, with great difficulty, I found the time to learn in 2009 graphology.
Mm. Wow.
And it was like, कि एक मेरा टिक मार्क था,
Ah.
वो हो गया मेरा टिक मार्क. I
Wow.
learned it because now I have a
Right.
basic idea about
Mm.
what it means. Why is
Correct.
his, and then I could also correlate about his strengths, and that's a different
Mm.
story. But yeah, I
Mm.
got certain answers, and I was okay with it.
Right.
I didn't have the time to practice all that much as I
Mm.
would because the advertising schedules were hectic.
Right.
And we were doing work that we both enjoyed. And as I
Mm.
said, there were so many other things we were doing parallelly.
Yeah.
So that was one moment. That was one thing I
Right.
learned and kept it. My friend says
Mm.
he's scribing, but कहीं दूर दूर से भी मुझे graphology click नहीं होता.
Right.
So I'm like कि तेरा भी मेरे को help नहीं हुआ. You're telling me something which I'm not an author. So
Right.
that also got sidepassed. Uh, the sofa moment, I love writing since
Mm.
childhood. The sofa moment got me into journaling. I
Okay.
said, I'm not able to think, so I will write. And that's when I remember, हाँ ग्राफोलॉजी में कुछ जर्नलिंग का है और ऐसे भी लोग बोलते
Mm.
जर्नलिंग किया करो.
Mm.
So I started doing journaling, and the more I journaled, the more I wrote. I would literally get goosebumps when those letters would be formed on paper. I
Wow.
would feel that this is.
Mm.
It's as if when you write the letter A, when you write the letter L, it goes up and it comes down, and there was something would happen inside me, and I'm like, oh my
Right.
god, I just love writing. And then I just wrote and wrote and wrote to such an extent that I would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, go in the terrace. I took permission from the chairman that I can go there, do
Ah.
yoga and writing. There were times I would do yoga and writing
Mm.
till 8 o'clock. So 5 to 8,
Wow.
6, 7, 8, 3 hours. And my husband, my daughter, and they would say, what do you do? And there was one moment when I'm sitting in the terrace, I'm writing. Terrace ka pata hota hai na, you have those tiles.
Mm.
It's like the most uh, unfertile space. So
Mm.
there's not a
Yeah.
plant inside. It's just those bricks and
True.
all.
Yeah.
And I'm writing, and I had a breakthrough moment when I was writing.
Wow.
So I was really sitting with that book in my hand, and a butterfly came in.
Ooh.
Butterfly on
Mm.
a terrace where there's not a single plant.
Mm.
I'm not having any flowers with me. She came and sits around. She comes and sits on the book as well, but she is around for quite some time.
Mm.
And I said, this means something. So
Mm.
probably, I don't know. I'm just thinking. Probably
Mm.
that's the moment I thought that there's more to it than just what I am seeing. I'm seeing
Ah.
everything as just पूरा वो
Got it.
सबका बोझ book पे डाल दो
Yeah.
and keep
Yeah.
moving. So I'm
Mm.
probably looking at writing that way. Probably it means something more. So that
Wow.
that butterfly coming into the most arid area
Amazing.
and bringing that light,
Mm.
that color.
Mm.
Uh, as I'm talking, I can still see the butterfly.
Awesome.
So slowly and steadily, then I said, okay, let me. I learned graphology again. I learned a
Wow.
lot of things to upgrade myself.
Mm.
So that's how that thing kind of. So even
Mm.
when the point I think I would like to make here is for all the other viewers
Mm.
is at times even when someone comes and tell you that this is
Yeah.
what you're meant to do, it may work, it may not
May
work.
not work. Yeah.
Never ever throw away or
Mm.
हटा मत दो किसी suggestion को. Keep
Mm.
it at some space, at a parked space in your, probably have a car or a tray
Mm-hmm.
of ideas which is
mm,
sparked with whatever you think, you know,
mm,
किसी ने कभी कुछ बोला, it
sure.
didn't click, but just park it there. You never
Mm,
know when
mm,
it will be the moment to pick up one
yeah,
idea from that.
yeah.
So I think that is one thing I would like to say, that
Mm,
uh, that direction comes with experiences.
mm,
And one thing, if I had to do differently, was probably I would go through the experiences more faster
mm,
than being very careful. Probably I would have reached that point a little more earlier.
right.
But who knows? I think
Yeah.
he has his way.
Yes.
And, I guess this was the best way for me.
Yes.
Also, probably we come from a generation where for us speed has a different
Yes.
parameter, has a different unit system.
Yeah.
The speed in today's age has a
Mm,
different meaning and a different unit system, I think.
mm,
We spoke of years. Nowadays, it's more about minutes and seconds.
mm, mm,
So, I guess the generation now would
mm,
probably go through this process much faster than
mm,
we went through, because
yeah.
when I see the youngsters, they are not scared to make mistakes.
Mm,
They don't care. They are like
mm,
देख लेंगे. So
mm,
probably, they are going through these steps much faster than
yeah.
we did. So I guess that's a good thing as the generation
Mm,
shift happens.
mm.
Yeah. So
Amazing.
yeah, that's it for me for
No, that's a
graphologist
beautiful,
space.
when we talk about backstories, that's such a powerful story. There are two things that I was reminded of. One is you probably would have come across this. There's this very famous, I'm guessing it would have been a video that Wayne Dyer had recorded about the butterfly. So
Okay.
if you Google or you go on YouTube and you search Wayne
The
Dyer and
butterfly
butterfly,
effect.
no, butterfly, not butterfly
Okay.
effect,
Okay.
butterfly.
Butterfly. Okay.
Very, I'll give you like the, because we're doing this on video and because this is not just for you and our consumption, to help people who are also watching this. The short version is that that was a pivotal moment in his evolution when he noticed the butterfly.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's interesting because as I was listening to you, immediately I was like brought back literally around COVID when I had heard about the butterfly story,
Mm-hmm.
that he had a similar experience
Okay.
that kind of shaped his journey as someone who was, spiritualist, philosopher, and written many books over time, and audios and videos and courses as well. So so that was one. And of course, I was also reminded of from my early days of really like tapping into fitness
Mm-hmm.
as a lifestyle for life. So whether you have a running period or not, whether you're preparing for a triathlon or not, or whether you're just being a couch potato, doesn't matter. But it's like when that becomes the continuum, right? Which means I may not want to exercise right now, but it'll only last for so long because I'll find myself coming back. Versus the conventional, go on a diet or exercise before a shadi or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in that phase, I had actually come across this video about yoga for runners, right? Maybe just as an add-on, I'll include it in our the maybe the links below. Uh, there's a beautiful video of like this. So basically, it's like she's a yoga teacher, and the video starts where she's coming back from her run, and she sits on the mat and she's does basically like a cool down, right? But yoga based. And as she's doing that, a butterfly comes and lands literally there and if I remember correctly, is there for a bit. And she even says, "Oh, there's a butterfly." And then she obviously focuses on the camera and she continues. So I'm just saying, again, as you rightly said, we are no longer talking about just this world. We're talking about symbols. We're talking about something far more meaningful, right? Because again, it's the same thing with handwriting. It's not just what you see; it's saying something, right? And it's so timely because I myself am doing a little bit of like I'm focusing on my own PhD on sales and marketing. I've done that for many years, but now I'm kind of like I said, I'm getting back into the running. So in this case, in terms of the marketing, right? And in that quest, I kind of came across Imran's handwriting course.
Hmm.
So it's like I completely get what you're saying, because I've seen it now a little deeper. So it's interesting to, to see the parallels. As I said, there are no, and just to sort of echo what you said a moment ago, this world that we're in, especially as in the space of healing and coaching, there are no um, there are no accidents.
Hmm.
So when these unusual things happen, I think that's what also you indirectly nudging people to say, when unusual things happen, pay
Yeah.
attention,
Yeah.
right? You could have dismissed the butterfly, but you didn't,
Yeah.
right? And I'm sure, as we will discover, as we continue on this conversation, what role that played. So maybe if you can fast forward and sort of like take us through between now and then, from the butterfly moment,
Hmm.
how has life changed for you, especially when it comes to, handwriting and the work that you do, and helping other people.
I I've I think life has changed in the way that there's so much more meaning to it.
Mm,
There's so much more joy,
mm,
purpose.
mm,
You know, you're walking in this direction. Maybe someday
yep.
you will sit, you're tired.
Mm,
Someday you'll get up, someday you will run. But the worry is not, should I take left or right?
nice,
That worry is not there. It's
nice.
like, this is where I'm headed. I may have
Mm,
to take detours once in a while, but I know my North Star. I know my North Star.
wow.
So that kind of literally, it takes away a lot of khichdi that goes on in our mind.
Mm,
Um, and the everyday interactions with people,
mm.
the learning, the giving, and one thing which I'm sorry if it sounds,
Say it.
I think we healers, coaches are quite selfish
Uh-huh.
in not a negative way,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
but I think the more deeper we help someone, the more deeply we feel helped.
Interesting. Okay.
So when a person really gets a big breakthrough, somewhere
Huh.
I feel I have got a breakthrough, not just
Mm.
as a happiness point of view, but I feel
Mm-hmm.
something inside me has also got
Yes.
unlocked.
Yeah.
And I think that way it's a kind of a selfish thing, that
I get you.
more you
Mm.
give,
Mm.
the more you receive in every way.
Mm.
And
Wow.
then it's like, कि see, finally जाना है.
Correct.
So जब जा रहे हैं ना, so the heart is so much more filled with love.
Right.
It's so much more light.
Mm.
So having touched lives, feeling lighter, going up
Right.
there happier, what else do you want?
Amazing. 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 I love the reframe of the word selfish here, because obviously, it's like your very very ulta way. It's like a self fulfilling prophecy,
Yeah.
right? I wish for you to really have a big breakthrough, because that's indirectly I'm like booking my flight as well to to have a similar kind of
Yeah.
an experience, right? Awesome. So maybe just, and again, I'm only being mindful of time. I know I will definitely, at the right time, I know we will be doing a part two. But this is sort of like a primer for people to, to get to know you. And as I was telling you when we started today, um, unlike usually when we start on time, because we use technology as much as we do, the tech wasn't working. So we started, later than intended.
Yes.
And also I'm keeping this in mind for people who are watching this. Maybe if you could share a little bit about how do you use this. Today we talk about, not just like you said, 10-15 years ago it was called graphology, so it was more like the study of. Now with a positive reframe we talk about graphotherapy. So it's sort of like, as a coach, if people want to learn it as an added skill, it becomes one more one more tool that they can use. Some only use that, some use a combination.
True.
So if you could help us understand, like, how do you use this when you're working with people?
So one thing I really like what you said is that uh, there are times people say, my science is better than your science.
Mm.
And like all the sciences are targeting this. Someone
Correct,
is coming from this road, someone is coming from this
correct,
road. All roads
correct.
are great. It's
Mm.
just what resonates with
Correct,
you. So,
correct.
what resonates with me, maybe that doesn't make me a good marketing professional, but I give the
Mm.
choice to my clients.
Mm.
This is how it has worked for me. And if
Mm.
you feel handwriting is something you can resonate with, you're most welcome.
Mm.
Otherwise, I'm very happy to even recommend you other coaches.
Mm.
So, coming back to your question, how I use it as a combination. But
Mm.
my main my brahmastra, as you say, is handwriting. And
Mm.
I use it in two ways. One is as as a mirror,
Mm.
and other is as a map.
Oh, nice.
So as a
Love that.
mirror is like when I look at my writing, I am seeing the whole of me,
Oh, okay.
my good, my strengths, my weakness, my area of improvement,
Right.
my thinking pattern, uh, what is my values. So all
Mm.
that I get to see. Some things I know, some things I don't, something I don't
Mm.
believe because I've
Mm.
been told otherwise.
Mm.
So that's one way of using handwriting.
Mm.
The other way is of using it as a map. So first is understanding the destination,
Mm.
then understanding what are the roadblocks, and through
Mm.
handwriting therapy, through deliberate writing, overcoming those roadblocks and reaching your destination. So this
Mm.
is the way I use it. And when so the mirror part, getting to know yourself, is more like just one session where I explain and they take their takeaways. But the other, the map part,
Mm.
takes number of days.
Sure.
And to facilitate or to attack that problem from different angles, then I
Mm.
use NLP techniques, I use EFT things,
Mm.
depending on what space that person is in and
Right.
what it is required.
Mm.
So I also have a friend who is into sound healing, so if I
Oh,
feel that
nice.
this would help, so I bring
Mm.
her in. So then the rest depends on what is at that point in time. But yeah,
Mm.
basic NLP, EFT, all those techniques are
Nice.
something that are a part of the system.
Mm. Mm.
Handwriting, for me, being the forefront,
Right.
I find it is a very easy tool.
Mm.
I don't have to learn anything extra. It's something I learned when I was
Yes.
6 years. As Indians, we are fortunate. We know to
Yes.
write even
Right.
today.
Right.
So I know the skill. I just have
Mm.
to have different strokes
Got
practice.
it.
That's
Got
it.
it.
Yeah.
So I can't help but ask this question, just the way you said it. Take us back to that age 6 and 7, as you started to feel the handwriting that you were learning. Yeah.
The first thing that comes in my mind is, for some reason, I would always forget after K. A B C D F G H I J
Interesting.
K.
Huh.
K I would, and मेरी गाड़ी अटक जाती थी. And what
Right.
I remember about writing to learning to write is, my mom would be, why don't you remember after K? And it would be like, Sat, why don't you remember after K? So for me, the initial memory of
Right.
that, ठीक से याद नहीं रखा ABCD तो मार पड़ने वाली है. So that's what instantly comes to my mind.
Right.
But yeah, as a child, it was more having fun with those lines and curves.
Right.
That time nothing kind of stood out for me except that letter K. And
Mm.
letter K has an interesting graphological
Mm.
understanding, which we will have an offline conversation with how that plays out in my life. That's a
Right.
separate thing. But yeah, at that age, writing was just having fun with pen
Mm.
and nothing like ऐसा कुछ अंदर गुदगुदी जो होती है.
Ah.
It was a
So
simple
now
writing.
now that you said it, and there's a reason why. Like I said, this is unscripted for that specific reason. What you shared and the way you said, 6, and now when you sort of, from where we were paused a second ago at K and you were between 6 and 7, go back again to that, the butterfly on that, the yoga mat, I'm guessing, and your book, right? As you said, something happened when you wrote, right? That good goody moment that you had, that kind of, like, I won't even say it's cemented it. It's something that really connected with you deeply,
Yeah.
right? That's the reason why I was just drawn to ask you this question. And of course, it's untapped something else, which is beautiful. Um, so, like I said, like, these are just, for me, honestly, these are just beautiful ways for people to get to know you, right? Because if I zoom out for a second, my intention is that when people are looking for mentors, it helps to know, you know, what was this mentor before they sort of, before I have given them this mantle. It may be created through the, say, create your personal brand. So therefore, I am a so and so, and like
True.
India's premier iHypnosys coach, because that's sort of like the marketing side of things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But when people are looking for mentors, I really believe that when they get to hear and connect with you and travel back and forth through your timeline, it does something to them.
Okay.
And you said something earlier which is very powerful. Goosebumps again. It's like you are actually giving people an opportunity to speed up that process of finding you. Because when they go, man, I relate so much to you, right? And you have that Brahmastra that can help me, whether it's mirror or whether it's map. It literally can make that difference, not just in their life or your life, but in the people that they are meant to go out and help,
Truly. Truly.
right?
Yes.
So that's why I said it for people who are, especially if you're watching at this point and your head spinning a little bit, as they would say, dhairya. It's like, you're in the right space, and the reason why you're watching this is somewhere you really relate to this way of getting to know somebody. Because otherwise, these formats tend to be very interview based, very sort of structured in that sense.
Sure. Yeah.
If we zoom out, to be fair, we've also kept it structured where they know you from now, from when you were young all the way to the present, and they also know what they can look forward to when they, if someone's looking to be coached by you, someone's looking to maybe be part of a program, right? And so maybe we'll spend a little bit of time on that. If you could share, is there a program or a book or something that you're right now promoting where it will help people on the journey that they're on, right? Whether they may be coaches, maybe healers, maybe people who are on that healing journey themselves, right? Because it's a combination of all three. It's just where the person is in this moment. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about, how can people get to experience this magic that you bring, um, at this point of the recording. Obviously, 6 months. That's why I said this is just leading up to a part two. So for now, this is just basis where they are hearing you today. This is an opportunity for them to know a little bit more about how you can, like, how can you help them at this point?
Uh, so one is I have free resources where there are PDF
Hmm.
files I can,
Yes.
I share it with people who
Hmm.
are coming initially, just I don't know, so I said just
Hmm.
be with this and see how it feels. And a
Correct.
lot of times the moment you face yourself,
Yeah.
all of a sudden the clarity comes. So for some the clarity comes, and I'm happy to guide them a bit here and there, and absolutely fine with that. So there are free
Hmm.
resources. There is analysis, which I said, which is more
Hmm.
like seeing yourself in the true mirror.
Hmm.
But something that I'm really passionate about is the Calm Compass. That's the program name,
Hmm.
Calm Compass,
Hmm.
which is a 33-day program, and
Hmm.
that's about how you find yourself, how you face your fears, and how you shift from a space of chaos to
Hmm.
calmness, from confusion to clarity, from
Hmm.
stress to strength.
Hmm.
So that is something I really I think that it truly helps the person shift.
Hmm.
Getting the handwriting analyzed is the first step, but it's like half information. अब मुझे पता चला ये
Hmm.
प्रॉब्लम है, तो
Right.
what do I do with it? And
Mm.
that's what one of the things I love about handwriting is it has a remedy as well.
Right.
It's not a Gyan Bato session where I
Correct.
tell you this. It's also okay, how do we solve this?
Mm.
So that is something it's kind of very close to me.
Nice.
I also have a signature redesign program because there are many
Mm.
people. Initially, I was hesitant.
Mm.
I experimented with few of them and I realized some people don't want to do the deep work, and that's
Mm.
okay.
Mm.
And it's okay. They just want certain shifts in their life
Mm.
and they want their signature redesigned because
Mm.
signature redesign has been talked about a lot.
Right.
So then I said, okay, let me develop a program. So then I developed a program which satiated their requirement,
Mm.
and it satiated my as well, because I
Mm.
put in those elements
Mm.
which are a little deeper and they don't know. I hope the people who have taken my program are not listening to this, but in a subtle way, I'm
Yeah.
asking them to think
Mm.
and think for themselves. They
Mm.
don't tell me anything.
Yeah.
They think and write for themselves in the book. That book is for them.
Right.
So
Mm.
that's another program that I have, a signature redesign
Mm.
program. So
Nice.
these are some of the things. And then
Amazing.
I have, I do workshops for corporates
Mm. Mm.
where the employees, there's so much of stress,
Mm.
burnout, a lot of things happening. So just giving them some tools to
Yeah.
manage, like an SOS kind of a thing.
Right.
So I do those kind of workshops for corporates,
Mm.
yeah, clubs, and those kind of
Got that.
things. Yes.
Beautiful. So these sound primarily, are they like one to many? Like, is it like a more a group based thing, or are the programs you mentioned also one to one?
So the analysis and the Calm Compass program, they are one to one.
Mm.
The workshops that I conduct either at corporates or
Hmm.
at clubs or online, they are one to many.
One to many, right?
One to many.
And the signature redesign is again one to one.
That's also one to one. Yes.
Got it. Got it. Perfect. So I think that's as I said, the people have got something that I know will be of value to them, and obviously we've got your links that are below. Like especially
Yes.
when you're watching this on YouTube, even if you're watching this later on YouTube, the link will be there below, so they can reach out to you. Your the Linktree link that you have shared, that will be available to them. So as and when you update that, they will get the latest. That's the reason why I always say
That's a good one. That's a good one.
that. That's
Yes.
why I say either Linktree is one of the apps or something like that,
Like that.
so that when you, let's say, 6 months later or 2 years later, whatever, assuming that you're using Linktree, whatever you would have updated there will be what people will get
Would be
access to,
correct. Correct.
right? So that's sort of like my secret conspiracy, but not secret anymore.
I like the forward thing. It makes everyone's
Yeah,
offering relevant
exactly.
whenever a person is looking out for
Exactly,
that. Yes.
exactly. Right. So maybe we'll spend this is like a new segment that I kind of discovered when I did this when I recorded this pod last week, and I thought it's a very fitting um, segment, which I know again will help a lot of people. As you, I'm sure, would have noticed, even on your journey over the last maybe 5 6 years. I'm sure it'll go even further back, but at least over the last maybe 5 to 6 years, you've definitely come across like a pantheon of mentors and people who you've learned from, right? Like as you said, like people who, they may not be doctors and scientists in the conventional sense, but people who have kind of approached learning in a certain way and gotten really good at it and gotten really good at teaching it,
Hmm.
right? And so over a period of time, I'm sure you've met several along the way,
Hmm.
right? So I'd love for you to share, what has that journey been like for you, and who are some of these people who you really hold in high regard? Like, that I'm so glad that this person came into my life, because not just who they are or who they were, but it's also what they taught me that has gone a long way in shaping my like shaping who I am today. You know, so I'd love for you to share what has that journey been like, sort of like a journey of mentors that you have had.
Uh, so my The first mentor that I ever had was something I not accidentally,
Mm,
deliberately, but accidentally met.
mm, mm,
Is Rasika.
mm.
Rasika, her full name is Dev, Dev Dasi, something like that.
Okay.
Rasika Preeti is her full name. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
she got in touch. She helped me connect with my energy, and
Mm,
after that, there were then it's like,
mm.
for lack of better word,
Mm,
खूब चख So
mm,
now it's like, okay, what more does that want?
mm,
And then it was like a relentless walk towards finding out what more does this this part of you which you never
mm,
explored hold
mm.
in
Yeah.
terms of energy. What
Correct.
else? So then there were many mentors, and I have been very, I would say, fortunate.
Mm,
So some of them are Manisha Shah,
mm,
very very humble person.
mm,
Dr. Meghna,
mm,
a very energetic
mm,
and dynamic lady. And another lady that I really hold in high regard is Nayan Agarwal.
mm,
She is the head coach with Dr. N.
mm,
And I guess I have yet to meet somebody like her.
mm,
With all her uh, calmness, with all her humility, wisdom,
mm,
the way she talks about things, about her
mm.
own journey, in a way that we learn from it,
Right.
is, I think, one of the most, for me, she's a revered person.
Mm,
And then there have been many. Then there's Blair Singer, then there's
mm,
Tony Robbins, and
mm,
then there are books also who become your
mm,
mentors.
mm.
And James Clear's Atomic Habit,
Right.
though the book's objective is different,
Mm,
but the first chapter about identity,
right.
I read that chapter and I sat with the book for a few days. I said, I can't read further.
Mm.
I have to
Wow.
absorb the chapter. So, James Clear, I mean, I just love that book. I adore the way he has written the book.
Mm,
And I forget this person's name.
mm-hmm.
Yes, Stephen Covey, Seven
Mm,
Habits
mm.
of Highly Effective People.
Right.
After going through my own journey, the same pages
Yeah.
mean totally different thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally different thing. It's
Right.
like I have not read the book only. I'm
Mm.
reading it the first time.
Right.
So yeah, and then there is Imran Beg. There is Anil Panditji, from whom
Mm.
I learnt graphology
Okay.
long years back.
Mm.
Is no more, and
Mm.
he is somebody I really I hold him in high regard.
Beautiful.
So
That's powerful, isn't it?
it is, it is.
Like in this moment, I mean, I can feel that sort of what you just tapped into. To remember, the journey, like something that happened literally decades ago,
Yeah,
and now to sort of remember that, wow, like I'm here right now.
yeah,
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that.
yeah.
That makes it so beautiful.
And there have been other graphology teachers as well,
Mm.
because there are certain puzzles that are don't fall
Mm.
in place, and every teacher has
Yes.
their own perspective, their own
Yes.
life experience
Yes.
with which they give the knowledge.
Mm.
और मेरा खुद का एक puzzle है, then there are some missing pieces, so I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
one piece fit, okay, now then I look out for another teacher,
Yeah.
and try to fit in that.
Yeah.
So I have been fortunate enough to have
Mm.
those kind of teachers in my life.
Mm.
Some of the teachers are not even very well known in terms of
Mm.
being out there, but
Mm.
they're so deep. They're so
Yes.
deep. One
Yes.
of the teacher, we were talking, and I wrote something, and he looked at my D, the
Mm.
letter D.
Mm.
And even for the benefit of people there, the
Mm.
letter D, when it comes down, instead of the letter coming straight down, the line coming straight down,
Mm.
my line would perpetually end in the left side.
Mm.
Okay. And long story short, what it means is that those emotions that I'm carrying are going into the past.
Wow.
I'm not taking it on the right side. And then there are so many other things which I, for
Mm.
keeping time in mind, I'm not saying that.
Mm-hmm.
But then That D stayed with me for a week.
Wow.
And I called him up again after a week and I said, okay, yes, I understand what, and because of this stroke is there in my writing. I
Wow.
could connect those
Right.
dots
Oof.
and see that. And there's this, every day I learn something
Mm.
about graphology. I realize how much less I know.
Yeah.
It is such a deep subject
Mm.
that I think in my lifetime, even if I am able to learn 60-70%, I'll count myself a
Mm.
blessed soul. It's such a deep science. Every dot, every
Mm.
line, every stroke has much deeper meaning than we learn
Mm.
at level 1 and level 2 and even
Yeah.
level 3.
Sure.
It has got such deeper meaning,
Mm.
and the connecting the dots.
Mm.
So yeah, so those are some of the mentors, and there are
Amazing.
many more.
Sure.
But yeah, these are some that instantly come to my mind.
Mm.
And even, the other day when we spoke, and I told you, that you are explaining me about why you started the podcast, and you must have done this at least 50 times more. And the way you told me was as if this is the first time you are telling it. That's also a moment of learning, to
Mm.
come from that space of blank slate, totally blank slate. Like, it's my and Preeti's first
Mm.
interaction. I start on a blank slate. It's a huge thing. It's
Mm.
not easy, because
Yeah.
every time I come with, you come with to a person, कुछ ना कुछ तो we sit with,
Huh.
last time when I met some person, that person said this, some of the other judgments or thoughts are
Right.
there. So that was a huge learning moment for me.
Mm.
The way you spoke to me with such a clean slate is something that I have learned that day,
Wow.
and something that I'm going to incorporate in every interaction that I have with a person, that I will consciously remember the clean slate that Rahul brought in that day.
Wow.
So yeah.
Well, thank you for saying that. It's beautiful. I mean, um, and I'm sure you know this. This is why I'm sharing it with you as well. For the kind of person that you are, this work that we're doing, definitely on the surface, we're not doing it to sort of like chasing, those medals and trophies and things like that, right? There's a much deeper drive behind or within why we are doing what we're doing. So it's moments like this when uh, when you're sharing, because I'm obviously not doing it with that intention, but you picked up on that and you reflected back the second time, like you mentioned it that day and you've talked about
Yes.
it today. So so beautiful to hear that. And also I want to say that that you were truly willing to be so present that you connected with your mentors and your mentor. You're literally like your first mentor. To connect within, it says a lot about you. And that vulnerability to be so present, because sometimes we forget, right? Today we're at a point where making videos is not what it was a few years ago, right? I'm sure you're aware of that. We've done it enough to be very comfortable on camera, but to be vulnerable, to really like just let the feelings, because we don't know what's coming in the next moment, but to really tap into those feelings and be so present. It's moments like this that for me are like, this is why it's happening. And I know that for people watching this, this is the lesson that they've come to learn. It's not about what we see on the, like they say, and I'm saying this also because we come from the business of advertising, right? Where everything is about dikhave pe na jao. So, as they say, guilty as charged.
Guilty as
Uh,
charged, yeah.
but having said that, we all have our journeys and our lessons along the way, and we realize, that um, maybe what we started with was not what we were meant to end up with, but we needed to be there in order to appreciate, okay, I know I'm not meant to go on that path, right? Actually, I'm doing that so that I know what I'm meant to be on. And
Yeah.
I'm sure you recognize that you've probably tapped into your calling. And this is something, as they say, you could just do for the rest of your life, right? Holding that space and having the tools where it is actually making a difference versus sort of coming from here, which is very sort of you can do it,
Mm.
and that's, to me, that is something which is a true blessing, that I get to meet more and more people. It's like we are, like Avengers Assemble. We are like, building this constellation of people who really operate from their hearts, and that is what keeps the fuel going. Everything else is a bonus, like who doesn't want to have a 1 crore funnel or a 10 crore whatever, right?
True.
Or sort of like get your funnel or what is it, the 2 comma club or 3 comma club, whatever award in the,
Oh, okay, okay.
right? Who doesn't want to, who's saying, nobody's saying no to that.
True, true.
I'm being very clear with that also. There's the business
Absolutely.
side as well. but
Yes, yes.
but when, as they say, when the dust settles, it's moments like this. It's knowing that we have something very unique and something that truly is designed to make an impact and ripple across generations. We're not, I mean, I'm sure you know this by now, that the work that you're doing, you're not just changing that one person's life. It's literally for generations, whether they know it or not. You have made that difference in their life. So it's been such an honor and such a um, it's such a beautiful experience that I have had to to hear the journey, and as they say, picture to abhi baki hai. So I know, and I genuinely mean this, that part two will come at just the right time, in just the right way, where that becomes even more of a it's like, yeah, that's why season one happened, or that's why part one happened. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this grows, because it's like you're meant to receive more, and you've obviously done things to open up those, whether you call them the chakras, or open your heart to receive more. I definitely see. I mean, to put it in a different way, and I'm saying this also because we're talking primarily to people like us, healers and coaches. I'm sure there are a lot of times when you see somebody's page that is like blue tick, and 50,000, 100,000, 300,000, followers, if you want to call it that, right? Or every post has like hundreds and thousands of likes and comments and
Ah,
what have you, right?
yes, yes.
But when you read it, sometimes we have the question. It's like, why is it any different? Like, I say the same thing. My clients already see that in me. So why don't I have that, which is equally potent compared to what I'm seeing out there? So that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. Again, it's not scripted. It's just something that I'm channeling at this point. So I truly wish for more people, and I know that more people will find you. That's the reason why this pod is happening right now. And I really wish uh, and believe that more people will find you and be benefited by the energy that you bring. And I don't say this lightly. I pride myself, if I can use that word, on reading people. And there's something very, very magical about just the energy that you bring. And I really do wish that many, many, many people find you through the link and even through the pods. And I'm sure at some point somebody will chop these up and make them into, reels and what have you. So it's been such a, I just looked, it's literally 108. It's been as in my, so I have like a little counter at the bottom where it like keeps track of the actual
Of the
thing.
time.
So again, if you believe in numbers or the power of numbers,
Oh, oh yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, right. So truly, it's been magical, to say the least. It's been a lot of fun. And what I had, my promise to you last time was that I really do want to have a longer conversation, but I'm going to hold off till here we are. And to me, it's a privilege, that I know in today's day and age, as coaches, healers, we're like constantly busy doing stuff, whether it's taking care of home or the business. As I'm sure you've seen, when you attend say a seminar or a retreat or whatever, there are a lot of open loops, right? We start conversations and then somebody will like pop in, and then that interesting conversation is left midway, and then you're on to the next, and you'll have these open loops like for eternity. For me, this is truly a blessing. Like I get to, get your undivided attention, to hear what your story is, and how you got to be here and how you got to be doing the things that you're doing. So, I really, truly want to thank you for taking the time and just doing the things that you're doing. And I know this is the first of many conversations that we're going to be having. So, one more time, Preeti, thank you, truly, thank you for
Thank you.
taking the time
Thank you.
and for
And
being here.
in future, hope to see, you know, because our life experiences would be
Yes.
there. So it would be a different Rahul sitting there, and probably a different Preeti sitting there, and a different kind of a conversation we'll
Oh
have.
yeah.
So yes,
Oh
look
yeah.
forward to that.
As they say, you can bet your life on that. It is definitely going
Yes,
to
it's
happen,
definitely going to happen.
right?
Yes.
So yeah, I for those of you who've you're literally listening to this and watching this moment right now, that there's something about you that has tapped into what you've experienced today. And the reason why these pods happen, the reason why such amazing people like Preeti have shown up here, and that you have got to hear her story, got to travel along with her. And as I said, if you feel that calling within, that what, maybe Preeti can make that shift, right? That's the reason why, like I said, the links are there. Reach out. If nothing else, as you mentioned as well, there are enough and more resources that are available, right? There are your various channels, and there are PDFs and various ways in which you can continue the journey. I think
Yes.
that's, as we're wrapping, just one thing I want to say is that the reason why I keep mentioning the word journey is because this really is a journey. Sometimes maybe thanks to COVID, the flip side is that we think it's, coaching is a 5 year, done and dusted.
Uh,
It's like I have news for you, for those of you, especially if you just started.
yeah.
By that I mean that if you've gotten dissatisfied or disgruntled or disappointed, frustrated, 2 years in, 3 years in, 5 years in, uh, I want to tell you this, that you're meant to do this literally for the rest of your life. And the reason why these kind of resources are here is just to remind you, as you would probably guess by now, Preeti didn't start this today or yesterday or even 5 years ago, right? As you said, it's gone back decades to in preparation to be who you are today. So that's just another reminder that keep showing up, keep just doing what you're doing. And something I always like to remind you with, and I'll say it again, and remember to live your purpose, right? So thank you one more time, Preeti. It's been such a blast. What a way to spend a Wednesday. And as we would say, this is work, right? um,
Yes. Yes.
it truly is. And yet it is, this is like effortless work. So I've thoroughly enjoyed our time here together, and I'm definitely looking forward to more, collaborations and interactions and so much more. So wish you all the best. And for those of you out there, you know how to reach Preeti. So wish you all the best. And of course, as always, remember to live your purpose. We'll be back with more. God bless until the next
Thank
one.
you. Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you
So
for what you do.
give me a moment while I pause our stream. Awesome.